A man once said 5 words to a woman at a coffee shop. She wasn't attracted to him. She wasn't even interested. But those 5 words rewired something in her brain, and 3 years later, she married him. Those 5 words weren't, "You are so beautiful today." They weren't anything most guys would ever think to say, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what he said, because it's compliment number 6 on this list, and it works almost like a cheat code. Here's something that most men will never understand about women. We don't fall in love with compliments. We fall in love with how a compliment makes us feel about ourselves when we're standing next to you. There's a massive difference, and that difference is the reason why one guy can call a woman gorgeous and she smiles politely and forgets his face by Tuesday, while another guy says something that technically isn't even a traditional compliment, and she's thinking about him at 2 in the morning, replaying the moment in her head, analyzing every word with her best friend over wine. A Harvard study on social reward processing found that receiving a genuine, unexpected compliment activates the same region of the brain, the ventral striatum, as receiving cash. Literal money. So when you compliment a woman the right way, her brain treats it like you just handed her something valuable. But here's the catch, and this is where 90% of men fumble. Generic compliments don't trigger that response. The brain is smart. It knows the difference between a compliment that required thought and one that's been copy-pasted from a "how to talk to girls" Google search. The wrong compliment makes you forgettable. The right one makes you magnetic. Now, I'm about to hand you 8 specific compliments that women are psychologically wired to respond to. These aren't pickup lines. These aren't cheesy one-liners. These are strategic, intentional words that tap into what women actually crave on an emotional level. And fair warning, compliment number 4 is borderline manipulative in how effective it is, so use it responsibly. Let's get into it. Compliment number 1. There's something about your energy that I can't figure out. Most men walk up to a woman and immediately comment on her appearance. Nice eyes. Great smile. You're really pretty. And look, those aren't bad things to say, but here's the problem. She's heard them before. Hundreds of times, maybe thousands. When a woman is attractive, she's been complimented on her looks since she was 15 years old. So when you say you're beautiful, you're not telling her anything new. You're confirming what her mirror already tells her every morning. But when you say something like, "There's something about your energy that I can't figure out," you've done something completely different. You've acknowledged her without objectifying her. You've shown her that you're paying attention to something deeper. And most importantly, you've created a mystery. She'll want to know what you mean. She'll ask, "What do you mean?" And now you're in a conversation. Not because you forced it, but because she pulled herself into it. Dr. Gary Chapman, the author of The 5 Love Languages, talks extensively about how words of affirmation are most powerful when they recognize who someone is, not just what they look like. Energy, aura, presence, these are identity-level observations. And when you compliment a woman at the identity level, you stick in her mind far longer than the guy who told her she had nice legs. Compliment number 2. You make me a little nervous, and that doesn't usually happen. This one is going to feel counterintuitive to most men because society has taught guys that showing nervousness is weakness. It's not. It's actually one of the most attractive things a confident man can admit, when done right. Here's why this works so well. When a man who clearly has his life together, who carries himself well, who doesn't seem like the type to be easily shaken, when that guy tells a woman she makes him nervous, her brain immediately assigns her a higher value. She thinks, "Wait, I have that kind of effect on him?" That's incredibly flattering. Not because she's arrogant, but because genuine emotional impact is rare. Most interactions women have with men feel transactional. This one feels real. The key here is the second half of the sentence. And that doesn't usually happen. That part is doing the heavy lifting. It tells her this isn't your default setting. You're not a nervous person. She specifically is causing this reaction. You've separated her from every other woman without saying a single negative thing about anyone else. That's surgical-level complimenting. A study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that vulnerability, when expressed from a place of security rather than insecurity, significantly increases interpersonal attraction. So no, admitting she makes you nervous doesn't make you look weak. It makes you look human. And women are starving for human in a world full of performance. Compliment number 3. That color was made for you. Seriously. This compliment is about noticing what she chose, not what she was born with. And that distinction matters more than most men realize. When you compliment a woman on her outfit, her jewelry, her nail color, the way she styled her hair, you're complimenting her taste, her creativity, her self-expression. You're saying, I see the effort you put into presenting yourself to the world, and I appreciate it. Women spend an absurd amount of time on these decisions. I mean, we will stand in front of a closet full of clothes and say, I have nothing to wear, because the specific mood we want to project today isn't hanging on any of those hangers. So when a man notices the result of that internal deliberation, it hits different. But here's the trick. Be specific. Don't just say, you look nice. Say, that color was made for you. Say, that jacket has personality. It fits you. The specificity is what makes it land. Vague compliments feel lazy. Specific compliments feel personal. And personal is what makes a woman feel seen. Compliment number 4. You're kind of dangerous, you know that? All right, I warned you about this one. This compliment is borderline unfair because of how well it works, and here's the psychology behind it. Every woman, and I mean every single one, has a side of herself that she doesn't show in polite company. A bold side, a mischievous side, a side that isn't the good girl she performs as in professional settings or around her family. When you call her dangerous, you're acknowledging that hidden side. You're telling her, without saying it directly, that you can see past the surface, that you're picking up on something others miss. And here's where it gets interesting. This compliment also reframes the dynamic. Suddenly, she's not the one being pursued. She's the threat. She's the one with power. And that reversal is intoxicating. Women are so used to being positioned as the prize to be won that when a man flips the script and says, no, actually, you're the danger here, it creates a kind of electric tension that's incredibly hard to replicate with any other words. Psychologist Esther Perel, who has spent decades studying desire and attraction, talks about how eroticism thrives in spaces of mystery and unpredictability. When you call a woman dangerous, you're creating that space. You're saying, I don't fully know what you're capable of, and that excites me. That's a compliment that doesn't just make her smile, it makes her feel powerful. And a woman who feels powerful around you will keep coming back. Compliment number 5. The way your brain works is honestly attractive. Most women have been told they're pretty. Very few have been told their mind is attractive. And that gap is where this compliment lives. When you tell a woman that the way she thinks is appealing to you, you're doing something radical. You're telling her that her value to you isn't decorative. She's not a painting on a wall. She's not arm candy. She's someone whose thoughts you genuinely find stimulating. And in a world where women are constantly reduced to their physical appearance, this kind of recognition is almost shocking. I talked to a relationship therapist who told me something fascinating. She said that in her 20 years of practice, the number one complaint she hears from women in long-term relationships is not, he doesn't find me attractive anymore. It's, he doesn't find me interesting anymore. Women want to feel intellectually valued. They want to know that their opinions matter, that their perspective adds something to your life. So the next time she says something clever, something insightful, something that genuinely makes you think differently, don't just nod. Tell her. Say, the way your brain works is honestly attractive. Watch what happens to her face. That's the look of a woman who just received a compliment she'll remember for years. Compliment number 6. I noticed that you... Remember the coffee shop story from the beginning? Here it is. The man didn't say anything flashy. He didn't use a pickup line. He walked up to her and said, I noticed that you hold your book like it's alive. She was reading a novel, and she had this habit of cradling it with both hands, almost protectively, the way you'd hold something fragile. Nobody had ever pointed that out to her before. Nobody had ever noticed. And the fact that this stranger saw something so small, so specific, so uniquely hers, it broke through every wall she had up. This is the power of observational compliments. I noticed that you talk with your hands when you're excited. I noticed that you always check on the quietest person in the group. I noticed that you laugh before you even finish telling the joke. These aren't compliments about what she looks like. They're compliments about what she does. about who she is when she thinks nobody's watching. Behavioral psychologists call this attentional validation, the deep human need to feel observed and accepted in our unconscious behaviors. When someone notices a habit or quirk that we didn't even realize we had, it creates an immediate sense of intimacy. It tells the other person, you were paying real attention, not surface level, real. And in the age of phones and distractions and half-listened to conversations, real attention is the rarest currency on earth. That's why 5 words about a book changed a woman's entire life. Compliment number 7, I wasn't expecting to meet someone like you today. This compliment works because it tells a story without telling a story. In one sentence, you've communicated that she surprised you, that she's different from what you usually encounter. And that meeting her has been the highlight of your day, all without sounding rehearsed. The phrase, someone like you, is doing an enormous amount of work here. It implies category. It implies rarity. It says, you belong to a group of people that I don't run into often, and the fact that I found one of you today feels significant. She doesn't even know what category you're placing her in, and honestly, she doesn't need to. The ambiguity is the magic. Her brain will fill in the blanks with whatever she most wants to be recognized for: her humor, her warmth, her intelligence, her energy. You've given her a compliment that she customizes for herself, which means it always lands perfectly. There's actually a principle in persuasion psychology called the Barnum effect, named after P.T. Barnum, which describes how people accept vague, general statements as highly personal and accurate when they believe the statement was crafted specifically for them. This compliment uses that principle ethically. You're not deceiving anyone. You're creating space for her to feel special in her own way, and that's beautiful. Compliment number 8, the delayed compliment. I've been meaning to tell you something. This last one isn't about what you say, it's about when you say it. Most men compliment women in the moment. She shows up looking great, and he says so immediately. That's fine. But the delayed compliment, that's elite level. The delayed compliment is when you wait, hours, days, even weeks, and then bring up something she said or did that stuck with you. I've been meaning to tell you something. That thing you said last week about fear being a compass, I haven't stopped thinking about it. Do you understand what that does to a woman's brain? You've just told her that she occupied your thoughts when she wasn't around, that something she said was significant enough to live in your memory, that she made an impact that outlasted the conversation. Most people feel invisible. Most people say things and assume their words evaporate the moment they leave the room. When you prove to a woman that her words stayed with you, that they mattered, that they echoed, you've given her something far more valuable than a compliment. You've given her proof that she matters. Renowned psychologist Dr. John Gottman, whose research on relationships spans over 4 decades, found that couples who practice what he calls building love maps, paying attention to each other's inner world, remembering details, circling back to past conversations, are dramatically more likely to stay together long-term. The delayed compliment is a love map in action. It says, I'm not just here in this moment, I'm carrying you with me. That's not a compliment. That's a declaration. So here's the pattern you should be seeing by now. The compliments that make women fall in love don't talk about her body. They don't talk about her face. They talk about her effect, her energy, her mind, her choices, her quirks, the space she takes up in your thoughts when she's not even in the room. That's what separates a forgettable nice thing from a moment she'll replay for the rest of her life. And here's what I want you to understand on a deeper level. These 8 compliments aren't scripts to memorize. They're frameworks. They work because they come from genuine attention and authentic interest. If you try to use them as manipulation tools without actually meaning them, women will feel the emptiness behind the words and you'll get the opposite of what you want. But if you genuinely start paying attention, real, focused, intentional attention, the right words will come naturally. The compliment will write itself because you actually saw her. Now here's the thing, you can say every single one of these compliments perfectly, but if you can't tell whether she's actually responding to them, you're flying blind, and most men are. They throw out the right words and have absolutely no idea whether she's into it or already planning her exit. The truth is, women rarely say, I like you out loud. Instead, they say it with their body, and most guys miss every single signal. That's exactly why you need to watch this next video right here. 4 body parts, she shows if she likes you. It breaks down the physical signals women unconsciously send when they're attracted to someone, and once you know them, you'll never have to guess again. Pair what you learned today with what's in that video, and honestly, you'll be operating on a completely different level than 99% of men out there. It's right there on your screen. Tap it before you forget, because this information together is the full picture, and half the picture won't get you anywhere.